I'm Robbie Williams. I'm one of the biggest pop stars in the world. This is my story, but I'm not going to tell it in an ordinary way because I don't see myself how others see me.
For the next 2 hours, your ass is mine!
To be honest, I've always been a little less evolved. I don't wanna rock, so let's take it from the top, shall we?
I sit and wait.
My dad was well enamored by the stars of the day.
You can't learn it. You're either born with it or you're a nobody.
There's an angel.
Don't want to be a nobody.
Contemplate my fate.
You're enough.
The places where we go when we're gray and old.
You got in? You're in that band?
Take that! I'll give you fucking baby! Shut up, you tits!
Oh, fuck off, Glenn!
Mother!
Look around the table. In 5 years, we're all going to hate each other. But we'll be rich.
Do I look like a pop star to you?
I wouldn't change your hair on your head.
And through it, she offers me protection.
I want to prove I can make it on my own.
Proof to who?
Everyone.
And down the waterfall, wherever it may take me.
Songs are only valuable if they cost you something.
If you're gonna laugh, do it on the inside, yeah?
And know that life won't break me.
I don't give a fuck what they think!
You give a fuck what everyone thinks.
Remember, I believe in you.
Through it
So, the story starts.
I'm loving angels instead.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the NRW, where nerds rule the world. That was the trailer for Better Man, and on Friday it's going to rain. There's a 15% chance of rain, and I have no idea why I'm using a newscaster voice when I'm talking about a movie that literally is a play on itself. Better Man is the story of Robbie Williams, who was one of them boy bands in the 90s they were part of the British invasion that took the world by storm, or he was part of a boy band that was part of the British invasion before he separated and went out on his own, creating a career full of depression, full of love, full of kindness, full of drugs and alcohol. And so much, that's the entire plot of the movie. It's literally Robbie Williams' story played by Robbie Williams through what his personal take of what he looks like and how he feels. So, a monkey. This is a human, but it's just how he thinks that he looks and feels. That's his version of himself. I wish I could say more, but that's literally the entire plot. So with that being said, let's talk about the cast and crew, and then we'll jump right into our review. The film was directed by and written by Michael Gracey. It was also written by Simon Gleason and Oliver Cole. And of course, with writing credits to Robbie Williams, it is his life. And features Robbie Williams as Robbie Williams. It also, Jono Davies also did part of the motion capture of the character himself. Steve Pemberton plays Peter. Allison Steadman is Betty. Kate Mulvaney as Janet. Fraser Hadfield as Nate. Damian Harriman as Nigel Martin Smith, who we know is an absolute tool. Rochelle Bano, who plays Nicole Appleton. And just every single, this is a huge ensemble piece. This is technically a musical. Very, very, and I'll get into this more in my part of the review, but if you have seen the Elton John biopic, this is such a huge ensemble-esque musical, like that one. And I cannot remember the name of it right now. I'll look it up before my review. But with that being said, Kuya P, what are your initial thoughts of this film, Better Man?
So initial thoughts, I remember, again, I'm an old head. I remember Spice Girls, all the various, British boy bands and all that. Well, they've always had British boy bands since the Beatles, even longer than that. The Brit invasion has always invaded America with music. But yeah, I remember this time period very well and enjoying the music and Robbie Williams and just all of the different nuances about him. And then when this trailer dropped, I was like, okay. We're getting his story. Cool. But chimpanzee, interesting choice. It was a choice. And when we get into the review portion, you'll have my final review on that. But I was just slightly curious and just unsure. But knew some of the material that they were going to bring up and was like, okay, let's see where this is going to go.
Absolutely. One thing that really hit me, and by the way, it's Rocket Man. Why I can't remember one of Elton John's most important songs
Rocket
ever.
Man, Better Man.
But I don't. Okay. Anyway, and I saw him on his farewell tour. I'm just an idiot. Okay. One thing that really got me about this film is unless you specifically took time out to watch the extended final trailer, it's not even like the first one didn't really even explain what was happening. You really didn't understand this was a movie about Robbie Williams. You kind of either thought this was a weird musical, or you had no idea who this was anyway, so you didn't care. One thing that when I explained this to my husband, he was just like, do you know who Robbie Williams is? I do. I was an active fan. The great thing about being a Spice Girls girl was that I was able to reach back and look at what the craziness, Oasis, all of that stuff. We got to experience that through a girl band. But he's like, who today is going to be as excited about this because he doesn't have the following as Elton John. He doesn't have those type, he's not a Bob Dylan. What makes him special that tells the story? And you wouldn't understand it unless you saw the very, very final trailer where he explains that this is his perception of himself. And that you realize it's going to go a lot deeper into the darkness that Robbie Williams has felt and has been very vocal on these since the mid 2000s. He's been very vocal about his concerns and his problems. So with that being said, we're going to move right into the review. And Kuya P, what is your general review of this film?
Absolutely love this film. I didn't realize how much I liked his music. I remembered some of the tracks, but he and actually, to be honest, I'm not even remembering any right now offhand. But in the moment with his work, when you watch those music videos, it's a good time. They're feel good in the moment type of music. And he's not like Elton John or any of those other folks, but when you're in the moment and depending on your mood, you feel it. Well, I'm also an empath, y'all. So if y'all didn't know that, and so I have a good time whenever I'm listening to his music. But this film encompassing his life, his story, I'm thankful for as a being that, there's a lot of stuff we hold inside about how we feel about ourselves, how we vision. And so when, thinking about how he chose to have a monkey be his representation, that's just deep, y'all. And because once you get past that while watching this film, you don't even realize he's a monkey. He's just going through life and everything he's feeling, his failures, his desires, his wins, just losses, all of that you see throughout the film in both the writing in certain moments within the film. To me, it's one of the best musicals of that we got last year as of this recording, along with Wicked. To me, it's actually right there with Wicked. I'm not, again, that's probably blasphemous for some other people. I know Heather's a big Wizard of Oz Wicked fan, but this right there is deserving of a number 2, number 3 spot as one of the best musicals of last year. I'm trying to think of the other musicals that we got, but Better Man, I really enjoyed myself with it. I thought it was really well done. It was really inspiring. The messaging there about life, presenting some of the situations that he's gone through, but just everything there about him and his relationship with his parents, his mother, his girlfriend, and and how he ruined his relationships with different things, and how the music industry is, just was really well done. And I hope with us doing this review, there'll be just add to this just some of the other reviews that are out there, because I pulled up Wiki while Heather was talking. I was curious how well this film did. It completely bombed. It was made for 110 million and only made 17.2, and that's just regretful. Like, this is a beautiful film, at least in my eyes. Those are my thoughts. I think I probably went overboard with what you were asking me, but I absolutely love this film, and I thought the music was great. Just the moments were great, and just the layers and what he's trying to say, what the writers were trying to say. It actually makes me want to dive into, and you'll probably hate me for this, Heather, because I think you're a fan of this film, The Greatest Showman. My wife and daughter love the film. I've never seen it. And it makes me want to check out Michael Gracey's The Greatest Showman, because he directed this, co-wrote this, and this is a great film.
Gonna do a real quick statement. I enjoy The Greatest Showman. It's a fun musical. I love Hugh Jackman, of course, but it's one of those where problem with that musical, just remember, it makes out a notoriously racist man who literally wanted to continue slavery out to be a good person, and that's not who.
Now you remind me why I didn't eventually get to watching that film, because I was upset about
really
that
cool.
aspect.
I actually, it is one of the soundtrack. I do really, really, really like the soundtrack, and the movie is a nice representation of the play. But just when you watch Greatest Showman, just remember that that fiction is not reflective of fact. It is Barnum is a piece of garbage through and through and through. The only benefit of the doubt is he did give some people who would not have had the opportunity to live like normal lives. Unfortunately, if you look at it from the other perspective, many circus freaks were given opportunities that they wouldn't have been given, but at the same time, he still basically, he wanted to do it. It was slavery. It was slavery. He literally had a woman in a fucking cage most of the time. But with that being said, I actually completely agree. What the detriment to this movie is that not enough Robbie Williams fans out there. There's just not. The same day I watched this, I actually also watched the Dylan biopic, and my mother came to watch it with me, and I was just like, "Do you want to keep watching and we can watch Better Man together?" And she said, "No, I have no interest," and that's a big problem. This movie was a very clear high budget film, but you need to be it was targeted at the wrong people. What this movie should have been targeted at was the concept of was those who are in the mental disability and the mental trauma in the drug trauma communities. This movie isn't necessarily about Robbie Williams. This movie is about depression. It is about overcoming drug addiction. It is about overcoming alcohol abuse. It is about accepting who you are. That is the big takeaway from this movie. It's you are greater than your negative thoughts and your negative perceptions. You are greater than the horrible people in your life. But because this was Robbie Williams' story, and so few people, they either don't know who Robbie Williams is, even if they've heard, it's like a lot of one-hit wonders. You know the song, but you don't remember who actually sang them. Robbie Williams is far from a one-hit wonder, by the way. But just saying that it's unfortunate who this film was targeted at, because this movie has such an important message, and it's coming out at such a great at the most opportune time. There are a lot of people right now who are struggling to keep up their sobriety. They are struggling to keep ahead of their medication, and it's really hard to overcome, especially now. This movie, though, Kuya P was lucky enough to see it in 2024. It did officially release early 2025 to the mass public. When you get the opportunity to watch this, even if you are not a Robbie Williams fan, watch this. The music, if you have seen Rocket Man, a lot of those biopics are really, really goofy and silly, and they don't actually feel like good movies. But I did really enjoy Rocket Man, the Elton John documentary or biopic, because it was musical, and it was drug filled, and it was everything that Elton John was in this rainbow effect. And that's what so much of this movie was to me. It was all of the bad things, but spoken to in a very, very digestible way. And I want more people to see this. I like personally.
Same, so much. Yeah.
Don't worry that it's a Robbie Williams biopic. Don't worry that it's a monkey. Like that's one thing that actually really pissed me off. My sister and I have very different opinions, but she was just like, I don't want to see a movie about it with a monkey as the real character. Don't this when you have such clinical depression that you don't know how to see yourself as anything but a dark shadow, you will put yourself in whatever it is. And this is his story. He wanted to be shown as the basic natural being that he felt he was. And honestly, even though the graphics were kind of sometimes, they actually did a really good. They, for the most part, they did a pretty good job at having a monkey be a human without also taking away the fact that he still feels like a monkey. The music is great. It's really well done. And if you've never listened to Robbie Williams music or you don't recognize the name, definitely go back and look at, go to Spotify, go to iTunes, go wherever and take a listen, especially to some of his covers. He's incredible. He's actually an incredible musician. And he was held back for a really long time. So with that being said, we're going to kind of shift over. I know that was, both of us were very long-winded, but the statement is that this movie should have done better. It should have done better. So with that, let's talk about some spotlights. Kuya P, who stood out in this film for you, other than, of course, Robbie Williams playing Robbie Williams?
Good question. I was ready to one of my big positives beyond just the way they told this story artistically and shot wise, and just you forgot that he's this chimpanzee look, just the layers of everything was the dance sequences, as a musical. Man, there's this dance sequence in London when they're all going throughout on top of the I forgot what they call buses there, but when they're on top of it, then they're dancing throughout, then they're dancing through everything. Those look amazing. But I really appreciated, there's a personal note, and I know you know a little bit, the segments with him and his father. Mm-hmm. That was somewhat absentee, but also following his own dreams and encouraging him and the family. I thought that was really well done. The relationship between him and the woman was his almost mother's child. Again, that's going into the story a little bit, but it was his girlfriend. They never married, but the one that's on your backdrop, I thought that was really well done. She was an amazing performer. And that dance sequence when they meet each other for the first time, that's played on the yacht and they're dancing. Such an amazing, there's so many beautiful sequences in this film that then are dance and then music, just amazing. And just shot really well. But I think just everybody, I'm trying to think of specific roles, but I know the father just keeps on coming to mind because of my own parental things and great acting there. And shout out to the character actor or the motion capture actor that stood in to do everything on this. Just, and then great with Robbie with the voiceovers. I really enjoyed this film, and like you said, I hope more people see it. How about you?
That's actually, as you're talking, I was trying to think. Rochelle Bono, she's the one who plays Nicole Appleton, who, once again, if you know the Brit Invasion, if you know the Pop Invasion, she was another pop star. And they got together. They were together for several years. They never officially got married, I don't think. Yeah. But that's what this sequence is right here. They meet.
And that sequence was so heartbreaking too, because how we see their story quickly progress from meeting to the dissolving of it. Oh my God, girl. I was like, yeah. And then she get with Oasis guy, and I was a fan of Oasis too back then. Like, oh, that guy, oh, they got what? And my wife was the fan of the girl group that she was. She knew Nicole Appleton. She knew her. I was like, whoa, yeah.
Well, one of the really interesting things about this movie, because, and I'm trying to think of who really did stand out. Of course, the grandmother, the mother, all of them. Yes, there were these really great characters. But what was so important was the fact that they didn't stand out. In Robbie Williams's world, they couldn't stand out. And I think that's an important element to this film.
Well said.
It's everything kind of went at this weird flow. He was both jealous of everybody else that he couldn't see past his own obstacles. He was so angry. He was so upset that he wouldn't let others have that same limelight, which is so much an impact of his father leaving him, of his father betraying him. and I think that's an important element to this film. I don't think of any of the actors that it was a very well cast film. Do not get me wrong. But it was almost like it was on purpose. You're not supposed to remember these other characters because they were part of Williams's life in a way that flowed almost too easily in and out of his mind. Some of that was drug abuse, some of that was alcohol abuse, some of it was just because of his ego that he could not get past. So with that being said, costuming, beautiful. Cinematography, beautiful. Choreography, there were times.
Did you like the dance sequences, like through all
this
that?
dance sequence was phenomenal. The one where they get their contract with the big label is cool, but it's weird. That's actually the one that reminded me the most of Rocket Man. I'm like, what kind of fucking drugs are they on when they're dancing right now? Like, it's not great. So not hating too much on the choreography. It is interesting. There are moments though that there are better than others.
Yeah.
And then of course some of the CG was a little bit much. The final fight scene, I'm going to call it that, was it was him accepting who he was and finally, killing off all of those urges.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
But it was a mess. It was a mess, and for some reason there were weapons. Why? But with that being said, this movie was overall great. The casting was wonderful. The film was wonderful. Even if you are not a fan, or even if you do not know who Robbie Williams is, if you want a good story about depression and about overcoming your personal demons, this is a great movie. And I didn't think I was going to be saying that about this film.
Same.
Especially from the trailers.
Yeah.
And that honestly did a detriment to this. Do want to shout out though, because people who create trailers are often like thrown out the window, or often like they get the trash thrown at them. They're usually given what they're given, and then they try to make something that they think is the most accurate. They're not given a full film. So don't hate on the trailers, the trailer people for this. Don't hate on the movie people. Somewhere in the middle, the language just got mixed up and it didn't go out right. So with that being said, QP, any final thoughts?
Highly recommend. More people need to see this. It deserves it. It deserves it for all the reasons you stated, all the points you stated. Yeah, blew me away unexpectedly. Love the film, and for all of what we discussed, go see the film. Better Man.
Absolutely. Better Man is still currently in theaters right now as of this recording. I don't know when it's coming to digital. I don't think it's going to be too long from now. So make sure to check out Prime. If not, it might already be on Prime, because as we know, some movies kind of hit that digital rental stage while it's still in theaters. If you can see it in theaters, please do so. There are some great people that deserve to get that budget back. But if not, definitely check it out on rental. It'll be worth your time. With that, if you have any opinions, if you didn't like this movie, or if you thought we were missing the point entirely, please tell us in the comments below. Like, subscribe, share, and we appreciate y'all every time you do. Thank you guys, and we'll see y'all soon.
What's up, y'all? Your boy QP, Nerds Rule the World, just got out of a press screening for Better Man here at the AMC Georgetown. Initial thoughts coming out as I do. I enjoyed it. I wasn't expecting to actually dig it because they decided to do kind of like this weird anthropomorphic monkey face thing with Robbie Williams for the film, and it's played throughout it, but it made it a very intriguing choice. I'm familiar with Robbie Williams. I grew up a child of the 90s, 2000s, and so I'm familiar with his boy band days, his solo career, and it was very entertaining because I'm a fan of his music, and yeah, I dug it. And so I'll have a full review on the channel, but Better Man, yeah, I'd recommend it. Shout out to Paramount Picks. Cool story, cool film, some good numbers, but full review coming soon on the NRW. Your boy Creepy, Nerds Rule the World, Better Man.